Hello and welcome to Health Matters. My name is Dr. Heather Freeman and I am a program manager of YogaX, which is a special initiative out of the Department of Psychiatry at Stanford. Our mission is to integrate yoga into healthcare, and so we gear our training and education programs towards healthcare professionals, as well as training yoga teachers how to teach in healthcare settings. I'll be leading you all in a brief breathing and meditation practice, and then we're going to be moving into a more active yoga flow. And so throughout it, please feel free to take what you like, leave what you don't, as well as I offer opportunities to feel creative in your own body and work with what you're needing. So right now we'll just start with a short breathing meditation. So if you can come to find a comfortable seat, I have a blanket underneath my sits bones, which helps me feel a little bit more supported. Feel free to make whatever choices if you have a pillow or a blanket nearby. Then if it feels okay, you can either close your eyes or softly gaze out in front of you as you begin to draw your senses more internally. To start taking personal inventory, checking into how your physical body feels in this moment, maybe attending to how you are currently in relationship with the ground underneath you, or maybe how the air around you feels as it touches your skin. Maybe even starting to notice physical sensations that are more internally, that you can just take the time now to notice. Become curious about, without having to change or have it be any different. And as you begin to sit with some of these sensations, if something does continue to pull your attention to it in a way that you find that it would be wise to move or change your position, feel free to do that. As you continue to keep your body in your awareness, I now invite you to start to bring your attention to your own breathing. To notice how your body receives each inhale, as well as noticing how your body releases each exhale, as if you're breathing for the first time. And again, see if you can be with the breath without having to change it. To watch how your body breathes you, and that you just get to witness the wisdom of your breath and your body in this moment as well as in all other moments. So continue to watch your breath here for a couple more rounds. Again, knowing that there's no rush, that you're just becoming a little bit more intimate with your own body, your breath, and your experience in this moment. To practice being with what is. To practice being with you in this moment. And then from here, we'll take 3 rounds of breath all together. And so from here, breathe in through your nose. And then you can decide if you'd like to breathe out through your nose or through your mouth. Then when you're ready, inhale. And exhale of your choice. And then last time, all together, inhale through your nose. And then release your breath out. Okay, and then if your eyes are closed, you can slowly start to open them or start to become a bit more particular about where your eyes are focused. And then we'll start moving into our physical practice. I'll have you move into a child's pose. So something that I like doing is having a blanket underneath my knees, or if it feels a lot on the tops of your ankles, you can also roll a blanket between your ankles and the floor. And you can have your knees either to touch or knees out wide. And then lengthen through your arms forward, pressing into all 10 fingers as you draw your hips back towards your heels. And then from here, see if you can lengthen through both your inner and outer arms as you lengthen both side ribs. And then let your body settle into the shape. Again, practicing being with what is after you've intentionally set up this shape, to see whatever arises here and see what you can pay attention to as we rest just for a moment or two. And then from here, on your next inhale, I'll invite you to curl the chin towards the chest. And then with a rounded spine, move up into a tabletop shape where your shoulders go more or less over your wrists. And then on your exhale, draw your hips back. Return to a child's pose. Inhale to roll forward. Cat pose. And then exhale to draw your hips back. Child's pose. Then next time you are forward, inhale. And then when you're ready, release your belly down, roll your shoulder blades down your back. And then your gaze can either be forward or up towards the ceiling, depending on how happy your neck is here. And then on your exhale, curl your chin towards your chest, the spine up towards the ceiling, and then draw your hips back. Child's pose. And then inhale to roll up. Release your belly down, look up towards the ceiling. And then on your exhale, come into a neutral spine position, maybe wiggling side to side if that feels good in your body. And then from here, draw your hands forward. So I'm gonna actually move back on my mat because I've moved really far forward. And so draw your hands forward, but keep your hips over your knees as you draw the hands forward, and then release the forehead down either to a prop, onto the floor, or you can keep it lifted if that feels okay in your body. As you continue to lengthen through both side ribs, lengthen the inner arm all the way to the thumb knuckle side as you release into this shape. Letting your breath breathe you as you continue to watch your breathing here. To practice being with your breath just as is while we make these subtle shifts. And then from here, look up between your hands, and you'll walk your right forearm back so that you can easily put the forearm on the floor. Keep pressing through all 10 fingers, and then exhale to draw your hips back so you're just isolating, lengthening out through the left side. And again, you can keep the head lifted, you can bring a pillow, block underneath, or you can release it down to the floor if that feels okay for you. I'm gonna keep my head lifted because it feels a little bit easier for me to breathe here. And then when you're ready, we'll switch sides. So stretch out your right arm, draw your left hand back, and then release the hips back as you lengthen through the right side. Again, using the condition of the shape to practice being with what is. And then from here, you'll walk the right hand back. And then you'll come into a tabletop. For wrists, if it feels like too much pressure to put a lot of having the wrists right underneath the shoulders, you can always walk the hands forward, or you can roll up the mat so that you have a bit more padding under the wrists. So we're trying to practice being with what is, and so an easier way to do that for ourselves is to make sure that we feel supported and that we choose variations that feel auspicious in our bodies. So from here in tabletop, I invite you to lift the wrist of your hand to press on the knuckle side ridge, and then spread from the base of the thumb and the pinky onto the floor to really feel a suction cup underneath the hands. Then from here, we're gonna move into the hip joint. And so we'll move into hip circles. And so you'll lift the right knee and then draw a circle behind you. So drawing the knee out to the right, up towards the ceiling, and then down. Then we'll do this maybe 3 to 5 times, depending on how much you'd like to do this in your hip. And then you'd switch sides. So now starting to move a little bit, where we can practice being with what is, while not necessarily being still, right? Which is kind of our lives as humans. And then we'll switch sides. So left knee goes over into a 1 circle, and then switching sides. And then you can release the knee down. Maybe take the weight off of your wrist and shake out your wrists a little bit. Maybe drawing some circle. And then we'll come back into a tabletop shape. So from here, you'll probably want to move the blanket so that it's out of the way, but keep it nearby just so you have it. And then reinvest in how your hands are placed. So I really do like to lift up my wrists to feel that grounding underneath my hands. And then from here, you'll inhale. And then exhale, start to press your hips back to lengthen out through your arms like we did before. But then you'll start to lift your hips up and back to come into a downward facing dog shape. So generally, I have to widen my down dog because I have very long limbs. And so again, you get to decide what your downward facing dog looks like here. And then see if you can strengthen through your legs, so engaging the front quadriceps, the outer hips, as you lengthen through the inner and outer arms and lengthen through both of the side ribs. And then see if you can roll the shoulder blades down the back and then release the head so that you can shake it yes and no. And then here, once again, see if you can be with what is. So whatever sensations are happening in the body, whatever happening in your breath, use this as an opportunity to practice being embodied here. Really into your present moment experience. And then you can decide here if you, after kind of doing your own research and the message for you is, I need to come down onto my knees, know that that's always an option. right? But we're giving ourselves time to practice knowing what the data is before we make a choice. And then we'll hold this for 1 or 2 more rounds of breath, whether you're in a down dog or if you are on your knees. And then from here, start to look up between your hands. And if you are on your knees, start to lift your legs up, and then slowly starting to walk your feet forward. You might have to bend your knees a lot to get up into a forward fold. So my feet are staying hips width distance. And then I'm gonna grab the outsides of my elbows. And then let your knees be bent as you rock side to side. And then from here, release your hands and start to engage starting from the sole of your foot to your back of your calf muscles and then outer hips in towards the pelvis. And then bring your hands towards your shin bones. Then on your inhale, reach the crown of the head forward. Roll the shoulder blades down the back. And then feel as if the space between the shoulder blades are pressing in so that you're more or less concaving the spine in a way that your heart can open here, while still keeping the strength in the legs and extending out through the crown of the head. And then exhale, release into a forward fold. And then from here, we'll inhale to lift up halfway. Once again, finding that concave spine. And then exhale to forward fold. Then inhale to lift up halfway. Exhale, fold. And then when you're ready, bring your hands towards your thigh muscles and then press into your hands, extend out through the crown of the head to lift you all the way up to standing. And then exhale to release your hands and maybe give yourself a nice little shake. I call this the Etch-a-Sketch yoga pose, where you're just kind of erasing everything. And then from here, you can bring your feet together, and then I'm going to turn to face you so that you can see me, but you can stand exactly where you are. And then from here, we're gonna work on our mountain pose, and so you can either keep your feet and hips width distance, or you can bring them together, depending on your balance and what you're feeling today. So begin to ground down through your feet. You can either imagine that there's 3 corners, like a triangle underneath your feet, or a square. And then see if you can press down through all of those corners, whether it's a triangle or a square. And then from the ankles all the way up through the legs, see if you can begin to turn on all of the muscles, engaging the quads, and then see from there, see if you can pull in on the low belly as you draw both sides of the ribs up, and then slightly broaden through the collarbones while also keeping the shoulders soft. Then from here, turn the palms out, and then we'll inhale to bring the arms out and up towards the ceiling. And then once again, as you lift up through the arms, see if you can keep the length through both of the side ribs and both of the sides of the body. And then on your exhale, turn your palms out and then release the hands down by your sides. We'll do this 2 more times. So inhale to reach and rise. And then exhale to release your hands down. And the last time, inhale to reach and rise. And then keep your hands lifted, and maybe if it feels okay, you can close your eyes here to feel the shape from the inside out. As you start to check in with what's happening in your physical body as you hold this shape, what can still stay engaged here, while also seeing what feels soft and relaxed, or what could relax here. As you continue to hold this shape for another round or two of breath. And then when you're ready, you can turn your palms out, release your hands, and if your eyes are closed, you can open the eyes. And then once again, give yourself a nice little wiggle. And so from here, so again, you can stay exactly where you are. I'm just turning so that you can see the side view. And we're going to be working with a little bit of balance and strengthening. And again, what a wonderful time to practice being with it is when we introduce a little bit of challenge. You can bring your hands to your hips if that helps you with balance. That's where I'm going to start, but you can also bring your hands to your heart, or there's another hand placement that you like. Feel free to, again, add your creativity here. So I'm going to start with my hands on my hips, and then you'll root down through your left foot. And then first practice by putting your weight on that left side, maybe by bending the right knee. And then eventually putting all of your weight in that left foot, and then bending your right knee and bringing it towards your chest. And then exhale to release the foot down. So we'll do this a couple of times where you're just practicing lifting the leg and balancing on the foot. What's great for me is I have an injury on this leg that I'm healing. And so this is a great opportunity for me to be with what is, because I get to be present with my left ankle without making it be any different. And the next time you have it lifted, stay there. And then on your exhale, you bend your standing leg and then step your right foot all the way back into a high lunge position. And so just for now, while we cue through the legs, keep your hands on your hips if they're not already there. And first begin by pressing through, again, the corners of the front foot. And then see if you can lengthen through the inner thigh while you draw the outer hip in towards the pelvis. And then start to strengthen through the back leg, so much so that you feel a lift here, and that if somebody was to come over and try to press it, they couldn't move it. Then from here, once you feel grounded and stable, then you can decide if you'd like to lengthen out through your arms, maybe circling them out wide or drawing them forward. But again, choosing a version of the shape where, again, you can still practice being with what is without wanting things to be different, right? So essentially, we're setting up the conditions to feel more embodied. And so making your choice based on how you can feel more embodied in this moment, in this shape. And then we'll hold this for 1 to 2 more rounds of breath. And then you can release your hands if they're lifted. And then on your next inhale, you'll lean your weight forward, and then exhale to step your left foot or your right foot to meet your left, and then shake it out. All right. So from here, now we'll do the other side. So now practice putting your weight in the right side. Maybe bending the left knee a little bit just to feel your body weight on that right side. All right. Then from here, we'll inhale to bring the left knee in towards the chest, and then exhale to lower it. Inhale and exhale. Inhale, and then exhale to step the left foot back, coming back into a lunge shape. And then once again, see if you can be really particular about how your legs are holding the shape. So pressing through the front foot, lengthen through the inner right thigh, draw the right hip back, or the muscles around the hip to engage the pelvis here. And then you can decide here whether you'd like to keep your hands on your hips or if you'd like to reach and rise your arms out and up. Holding this for a round or two of breath. While again, you bring the practice of being with what is and seeing whatever emerges for you here, without needing it to be different, while also not expecting it to stay the same. And then when you're ready on your next exhale, release your hands down if they're up and lifted. And then you'll lean your weight forward and then inhale to bring the left knee forward and then the left foot down and then shake it out. All right. So come back into your strong standing Tadasana. Maybe closing your eyes here to tune in to maybe what came up for you in that sequence. Again, practice being with what is as well as being with the echo of what has happened. Again, without needing it to be different. Just watching and observing to learn how to be with you in your experience. And then from here, if your eyes are closed, you can start to open your eyes. And then keep standing where you are. I'm going to move, so again, you can see me more vertically, but you can stay exactly where you are. And so now we will practice a balancing pose, so tree pose or Vrikshasana. And this time I'm going to start balancing on my right foot. And before you jump into it, kind of notice if you have any expectations of this pose. Because we'll do it a little bit differently, again, with the context of having the conditions to be with things as they are. And so you'll lift your left knee, turn it out to the left, and then just place the foot on the leg without moving your hands or having your hands move the foot. And see if you can hold this shape, right? And if you need help with balance, you can always grab a wall or a chair. And kind of let this be your tree pose. I know for me, my tree pose, when I put my hand or like move my foot with my hand, looks very different. And I'm noticing I get irritated or that I want it to be different. And so if your experience is similar to mine, can you let this just be your tree pose? Maybe for a round or two of breath, just so you can watch and witness expectation while also choosing to be with what is. And then, once you've hung out here for a round or two of breath, then if you'd like, you can move the foot to where you would actually like it to be. And then let yourself hang out there. And then from here, you can decide if you'd like to keep your hands on your hips, you can bring your hands to your heart, or you can decide to grow your branches in whatever way you'd like. Maybe a round or two more of breath. Letting your tree grow in whatever way, shape, or form you'd like. And then from here, on your next exhale, you can release your hands, draw your knee forward, and then release your foot down, and then shake it out. All right, so we'll switch to the other side. So again, put most of your weight on your left foot. Bring your hands to your hips, and then inhale to draw the knee up, and then move the knee out to the side, and then place it just where it goes. And again, maybe there's irritation or wanting it to be in a different place, and you let it be there just for a moment or two. before you move it. And then, once you've maybe sat in a little bit of discomfort of expectation, or then you can move the foot. I especially feel it when I balance on my left leg that I want it to be just like my right, and it's not. And that's not necessarily wrong, it's just what is. And so letting your tree pose be exactly what is, now that you've maybe moved your foot to a place that you like. And then you could decide what you'd like to do with your hands for a breath or two more. I'm gonna keep them on my hips because it helps me balance. And then when you're ready, if your hands are lifted, bring them back to your hips. Draw your knee forward, and then release your foot down and shake it out. All right. So now, come back into your Tadasana shape. Once again, closing your eyes, maybe sensing into the echo of that experience. While also seeing what part of that experience you can let go of in this moment. Right, to practice being with this moment rather than what's come before. And then from here, if your eyes are closed, you can start to open them, and then we'll inhale to release the arms out. And then exhale, hinge at your hips, and you can reach your arms out wide, or you forward fold. And your hands can stay on your shins, they can come to the floor, or if you have blocks, you can bring your hands to the blocks to let your head hang in a forward fold. Then from here, bend your knees, place your hands to frame your feet, and then step both feet back. Once again, downward facing dog. And see, maybe you can explore how this downward dog might feel different than the previous shape. Right, and so see if you can be with this downward dog just as is. Maybe moving into any natural adjustments that feel like they're calling to you. And then from here, we'll inhale to roll forward into a plank pose. And then you can decide here if you'd like to hold plank, or you can lower onto your knees. We'll just be here for a breath or two. And then on your exhale, bend your elbows back to lower your torso all the way down to the mat. Untuck the toes. I'm gonna move back a little bit. And then release your forehead down, maybe wiggle out your hips. Then you'll spread your fingers out wide, placing your palms underneath your shoulders. And then zip up your legs and then press the tops of your feet, knees, and hips into the earth as you pull in on the low belly. And then draw your outer hips in and the outer muscles of your glutes in towards your pelvis. Then on your inhale, keep your chin slightly tucked. You'll start to draw the head and heart off of the mat while still keeping all of the muscle engagement going towards the center of the body, broadening through the collarbones, but then also softly letting the shoulders roll down. And then exhale to release here. We'll do this 2 more times. So inhale, lift up cobra pose. And then exhale to release. And then last time, inhale. And exhale. Then inhale into a tabletop. Exhale to draw your hips back. Child's pose. Again, either knees together or knees wide. And see if you can let the child's pose be whatever you're needing, right? So you can kind of forget all of my cues from the beginning and see if you can let this unfold for you. as you rest here and breathe here. And then we'll hold this for maybe 2 to 3 rounds of breath. And then from here, inhale into a tabletop. And then start to sit on your hips. Move your hips to the side and bring your feet out in front of you. So now we'll move into the cooling down part of our practice. And so make sure you have a blanket handy or a pillow. And then you'll keep your feet planted. And just kind of letting your torso release onto the ground, letting gravity help you here. And bring your feet closer towards your pelvis. And then keep your feet about hips width distance. Then bring your palms face down right by your hips. And then from here, tuck your, you're pressing your low back into the earth to feel this kind of, it's like all of your abdominal muscles are moving in. And then you'll start to press into your heels and then lift your pelvis up into a bridge shape. Lengthen through both of the side ribs. Start to engage the quadriceps towards the knees as the hamstrings move up towards the glutes. And then exhale to release down. We'll do this 2 more times. So inhale to lift and rise. Pressing into the shoulder blades while keeping the legs engaged. And then exhale to release. And then last time, inhale to lift. And then see if you can draw the chest towards the chin, but the chin away from the chest. And then exhale to release your hips down. And then hug your knees in towards your chest to roll side to side. And then from here, roll all the way onto your right side. And this is where a blanket might be a good option, or a pillow, where you place either the blanket underneath the knees or you can bring the blanket between the knees. And from here, you'll bring both hands out in front of you, where the left hand stacks on the right. And then on your inhale, you'll reach your left arm up towards the ceiling and then over to the left to twist into a resting shape. If the shoulder feels elevated, again, this is another great place for a blanket or a pillow. And then you can decide whether you'd like your nose towards your right hand, up towards the ceiling, or if you'd like to continue the twist into your neck, you can turn your head over to the left side. And once again, letting your attention be with what's happening in your body, what's happening with your breath, or maybe even noticing the thoughts that are arriving for you here without necessarily having to do anything about it. Right, that you're just sensing that you're thinking, but you don't have to finish the thought or have to make an action plan. And then when you're ready, on your next inhale, you'll inhale to draw your left arm up and over to the right. Giving yourself a moment or two here. And then remove the blanket and just move it over to the other side so you have it ready for you. And then you'll roll onto your back. And then you'll switch to the other side. All right, so now I'm going to switch sides, but you can stay exactly where you are, but I'll switch so that you can see me and then I can still face you. And so now you'll roll all over onto your left side. And then stack your right hand over your left. And then once again, right, if you have a blanket, you can place it underneath your knees or between your thighs. And then from here, you'll have this kind of like, think about like in elementary school, like making an alligator shape. And so you'll bring the hands together, and then on your inhale, you'll reach your right hand up and then over to the right. And then once again, if the shoulder feels elevated and uncomfortable, you can bring blankets, pillows, stuffed animals, whatever you have underneath the hand. And then your gaze can either be towards the left palm, up towards the ceiling, or if you'd like to continue the twist, over to the right. And then let your nervous system, as best you can, settle into this shape. Maybe even closing your eyes here to feel this from the inside out. Again, with the practice of being with what is. Because oftentimes when we're able to be with what is, we realize how fleeting things are. And so it helps us know that either to enjoy fully the things that we like, while also not expecting them to stay around. While also knowing if things are something that we don't like or unpleasant, that they won't last forever. And that they will pass eventually. And when you're ready, on your next inhale, your right hand will lift up towards the ceiling and then over to the left. Give yourself a moment or two to rest on your left side. And then from here, release the prop and come onto your back for your final resting shape. And so if you need to, you can have knees bent or legs out in front of you. You can also use a blanket or support underneath the head. As you make your way into the final shape and the ultimate pose of being with what is, where you can close your eyes or soften your gaze. Beginning to release your attention from any one particular thing. To give yourself the opportunity to experience the totality of this moment, following your practice as we rest together in the final moments of class in silence. And then from here, begin to bring your attention back into your body and back into the room that you're practicing in. And slowly begin to deepen your breath. Once again, as if you're breathing for the first time. And then from here, slowly begin to invite movement into your body in whatever way feels intuitive. And then you can start to bend your knees if they're not already bent. and then roll onto one side. And give yourself a moment or two to rest on your side, to honor this transition. And then when you're ready, eventually making your way into a comfortable seat. And then from here, you can either have your eyes on something in front of you, or you can close your eyes completely. And you can bring your hands either face down on your thighs, or you can bring them together in front of your heart. As I invite you to bow your head towards the wisdom of your own experience in your heart. To acknowledge that our yoga practice is not to give us anything new, but simply guiding us to what is waiting for us to pay attention to. Our experience of being with what is gives us this moment to remember who we truly are, how resilient, radiant, and loving we are at our core. Thank you so much for practicing with me and with YogaX and with Health Matters. A big bout of gratitude to all of you. Thank you.